Hey, so in this video we're going to continue mapping the Dmx fixtures here, and just a quick recap. In the last video we mapped the B light, which was this one right here. It was a 10 channel setup, and it's the one that you see on in the corner there, and we set up the pan, the tilt, the speed, and all the other channels just to projectors without any fancy content going to them. And for the color, we've just got a simple ramp animating through, and we're going to set up the other light, kind of just like this one, but except we have some different channels to worry about. And some of these are going to be necessary, some of them are just kind of superfluous, but we do need to address them all. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to duplicate these and get our entire DMX lighting setup good to go and ready to program. So, first thing we want to do is go ahead and pull up the Dmx Fixture Wizard. We used this in the last video, and we're going to use it again, but this time we want to type in 16 here for the number of channels, which would be quite a lot, as you can see. We'll call this F underscore zoom mover 1. And this will be device ID number 2. And let me just pull back up that DMX map real quick. And here we go. Alright, so the first couple that we have is X, X fine, Y, and Y fine. Now if you remember, we did call our fixture channels before. We have a list here that we can reference. So we have red, green, blue, haze, pan, tilt, TLT. And so these two we need to be especially concerned with, because we're going to be using these names here. We want to keep it consistent so that when we use content and projectors, we can address all of the pan channels and not just the ones of a specific type of mover. So for channel 1, we would go ahead and call this pan just like before. And with channel 2, we'll call this pan F for fine. And then for this one, we'll call this tilt. And then the fourth one will be tilt F. And then let's go ahead and bounce back to our list here and see what we got next. We've got speed and dimmer, so let's go and do those. SPD would be speed, and then DIM for dim, and then we have a new one here. And this new one is called, well, it's two things in one. We have a strobe and we have a shutter. We don't have a shutter channel. We do have a strobe channel, but however, this is actually 2 in 1, which is a bit problematic, but we're going to go ahead and forget about the strobe for now and just set this up as a shutter. So we're going to call this SHT, which looks a lot like another word, but let's forget about that for now. Actually, I guess we can add a fourth letter in there, so SHUT. And then after shutter, we have red, green, blue, white, and let's go ahead and put those in here. We have red, green, blue, white, and then if we go back here, we have color temp. We have macro. So let's go ahead and put those in here. I'm probably not going to use these, but they're going to have to be addressed anyways. Color T, and then MCRO. Seems fine. Let's see here. Channel name 4. We have something wrong up here. Right. So I actually misspelled these. Down here you might notice that there's a couple error messages. It says channel 4 name cannot be longer than 4 characters, and I actually goofed this up. So if you look over here, tilt is actually TLT, and so I need to actually fix this and spell it TLT, and this one is TLTF. And that clears up that error for us. And then channel 14 is after macro. Let's see what we got there. Oops, wrong window. Alright, so we have empty. It's just internal program, so let's just call this, I think we're missing a channel here. Let's see, we got pan fine, tilt fine. Channel 5 is speed, so that's what we got. Oh no, we got speed here. Okay, we got 6 is dimmer, 7 is shutter, 8 is red, and then we end on 11, which is white, and that looks good. And what's after that? We have Number 12 is color temp. That looks correct. And then number 13 is macro. No, that's something else. That's just like color combinations. All right, we want to call this just CLR. Just give me 1 second. And then we want to call the next one macro and MCRO, PRGM for program, and the very last one is focus. So we want to go ahead and make number 16 FOCS focus. All right, once we've done that, we can go ahead and click create. Before we do that, let's just verify that everything looks correct. So we have pan. Make sure this is over here the same as that pan. We have pan F. That's a new variable, so it doesn't really matter what it's called. We have tilt, which is TLT. We have tilt F, which is not existent over there. We have speed. Speed is good. Shutter is a new one, so we don't have to match that to anything. Then we have red, green, blue, W, which is all already there. And then we have CLRT, which is new, and I think all of these are new, including focus. So looks like we're good to go. We can just hit create fixture, and once we've done that, we can pop open our outliner, and let's see what we have here. We have an F zoom mover 2, and I'm just going to move this over a little bit to match that first light on the floor there, if you can see it. I'll put this at -100, a nice round even number. Okay, so we got this made, and we need to make sure the address is correct. So let's open up our mapping situation here, and the first one is set to channel 11. As you can see here, it tried to offset it intelligently, but we want to actually disregard this, and it's doing this because the fog machine is at the very end of the spectrum. So let's go ahead and take this down to 13, and then push this up to 11. If all goes well, that should allow us to move the tilt and see some action going on. And of course we see nothing, so we need to figure out why. Okay, so we don't have anything going on down there, and let's see why. We got TLT, that's looking good. We have, let's see here, TLT, where are you? I just realized what the issue is. So, if you recall, we actually set up a mask on our movers. And I bet that might have something to do with it. So if we go over here, check out our masks, we have M2. So let's go ahead and add that to our mover. M2. And that should at least get our color working and all that. So I actually think I might see the tilt working. Yep, and it looks like we're in business. Might have been working already, I just didn't notice. So we have tilt working, which is good. The only thing we have to do now is get our shutter hooked up to our dimmer slider here. We want this to all be synced up to the same slider ideally. We don't have to be worrying about two different sliders. So to do this, let's hop over to the I/O tab and let's look at what we got here. So we have the need for a value that goes between 0 and 255, and we actually just want to keep it at 255 if the shutter is if the slider is up at all. So in order to do that, we really just need some kind of way to round this from 0 to 1 and then multiply that by 255 and get us up to the max. Since we're dealing with 0 to 1 space in our textures, we don't have to actually take it to 255 explicitly. All we really need to do is take this MIDI channel here and make sure it's rounded up to 1. So there's a couple ways to do that, but the easiest is to use a math node. go ahead and connect this to here. And then here under integer, we can just say ceiling. And now if we move this up, it will always be 1 unless it's 0. So that solves that problem for us pretty quickly. So I'm going to move this down here, and we'll call this math shutter. Okay. So we can also duplicate another projector for this. I guess we could put this down below since it's something we're not going to mess with too often. Keep it with the dimmer, which is kind of the same thing. So let's call this shutter. And our IO textures, let's just grab the shutter. And the next thing we want to do is route this projector to the SHUT channel, and there we have it. We have lights. You can see that from the video. Good. So essentially what we've done is create a second fixture with a different layout, but some of those channels overlap with the other fixtures. So now this allows us to in synchronicity kind of dim these and also brighten them, and that's no problem. And things like the pan slider should also just work. And it looks like these lights have the same range. As you can see, they rotate within the same amount of degrees, so that looks good. If we grab the tilt, we can tilt this back and forth. Just make sure everything's looking good. The bottom one's a little bit snappier, but that's okay. Lights are going to be different sometimes, and that just works out fine. So the next thing we want to probably do is set up our focus projector. So with our B movers, we had that custom look called the prism. So I guess this is kind of the equivalent of the prism. So I'm actually going to move this back a little bit more, just to kind of like let myself know where this is and what it is. So I'll move a duplicate back a little bit too, and I'll rename this duplicate from prism to focus. And we'll go ahead and pipe that into the name here, route R to the focus channel, FCUS. Nope, that's not it. FOCS. There we go. I believe that should be it. And there we have it. We have a zoom projector that will handle the, the focus projector, which will now handle that parameter of the DMX light. So this is the basic setup. So before we round this tutorial up and kind of finish it off, let's go ahead and duplicate these two lights and get the rest of our fixtures set up as well. So we'll go ahead and do the bottom row first, and so the next one that we need to get is starting at channel 27. So let's go ahead and grab zoom mover, and let's go ahead and rename it to 1. Don't know why it ended up getting to be 2. I think it's to do with the Dmx Wizard. So we'll duplicate this. We'll move it over a little bit. Let's just type in negative 30, maybe negative 50, just keep things nice and even. And for this one, back to the universe 13, and then we want to start it at 27. And so I'm just using the scroll wheel to adjust this and dial it in, and there we go. As you can see, we've got 2 lights now doing the correct thing. So the next 2 offsets are 43 and 59. So this should be a relatively easy thing to accomplish. We'll just duplicate this again, and we'll type in 50. And we can type in 43. And we'll do this one more time. And we'll call this Universe 13 53, I believe it was. Looks like I have it off by 1. It was 59. I was off by several. So 59. And we are now good to go. I think that light down there is rotated physically a little bit off to the right, so that's going to be a little bit off center. In fact, these are all a little bit off. We'll fix that here in a bit. And the last one we have to duplicate is the last B light. So we'll go and grab that one. We'll duplicate it. And we'll just go ahead and translate this over. Let's see what the first one was. It was at negative 150, so we'll put this at 150 positive. And where does this start? This starts at 75, so we'll go down to Universe 13 and channel 75. And there we have it. We now have all of our DMX lights technically mapped, although they're a little bit skewed, and that's just my fault for moving around a little bit before the video. And we can test things a little bit, just briefly. So we have the prism projector. Let's go and try playing with that. So as you can see, our lights are irising just nicely. And then if we grab the focus projector and we just kind of zoom through this, we can actually see that we focus quite nicely on all the lights. Great. And then we can grab the dimmer, which we have on a slider, so we can just test that. That's looking good. And grab the pan, and we can go ahead and drag the set color and just make sure this rotates nicely. It does. Let's do the same with the tilt. And that's looking good. It's a small field. Let's go and use the mouse wheel. Yeah, looking good. And that's pretty much it. Let's go in. One last thing. Let's just throw a quick texture on the pan so you guys can see some cool, fun stuff there. If we go in here and we just get a new ramp, in fact, we could just let's move that back to where it was. In fact, let's just grab this ramp and let's duplicate it. I'm going to delete some of these keys and just keep the middle one, make it white, and then the one on the edge will make it black. So we have this nice, simple ramp. And as you can see, it's going left to right. So let's call this ramp tilt. So I'll keep this ramp editor open, and I will grab the tilt projector and take it from color override to expecting a texture. So now I'll just plug in ramp tilt, and there you have it. We've got some tilt action going on with the texture map. So what we can do now is we can start tuning this in. We can say, all right, I want this to be a little bit less extreme, and then we can grab the low end and we can bring this up a little bit as well. And this is, of course, a very coarse way of setting lights. You can, in GeoPix, set things with video, and you can also key them in with PixFrame nodes. PixFrame nodes are going to be in the next tutorial. We're going to talk about how to use that to set a very specific look. And if you come from the traditional lighting world, you're going to appreciate that node and probably find that to be more of a familiar way of working. But you can combine both workflows. You can use all one or all the other. It's totally up to you. That's the power of doing stuff in GeoPix. It's a very much open sandbox environment for lighting. All right, thanks for watching.